So, good morning. Uh, Today I will be discussing the um, topics under law enforcement operation with crime mapping. Ito po yung sakop ng midterm examination natin sa LEA 4. So, learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to define crime scene investigation, know the responsibility of the first responder, and state the civil disturbance management operations and their operational tasks. So, crime scene investigation, it is the conduct of processes, more particularly on the recognition, search, collection, handling, preservation, and documentation of physical evidence. So, crime scene investigation includes the identification and interview of witness and the arrest of suspect at the crime scene. So, upon the receipt of a report or complaint of a crime incident, the desk officer shall first record the time the report or complaint was made. So, what is inside the complaint? So, the identity of the person who made the report, place of the incident, and synopsis of the incident or yung conclusion ng incident natin as well as the time and possible time that the crime happened and inform his superior officer or the duty officer regarding the report. So first responder, any police officer who first arrives at the crime scene and shall endeavor to protect and secure the same as follows. First, cordon the crime scene. So alam niyo naman, meron na kayong knowledge dyan na once na dumating si first responder, ano po ang gagawin? Cordon the crime scene with whatever materials that is available for you. Halimbawa po, ropes, straws, human barricade, police line if available, and others materials that is available for cordoning the crime scene. Next, evacuate injured person to the nearest hospital. Prepare to take the dying declaration of severely injured person if any. Prevent the entry and exit of persons within the cordon area. So, bakit ba kailangang i-prevent ang entry and exit of person within the cordon area? Its purpose is for the preservation of evidence. Kasi para hindi po natin magalaw ang evidence natin. Kasi once na na-alter yan, hindi na po yan, once na nagalaw or na-alter yan, hindi na po siya pwedeng gamitin as evidence. Lalo na kung strong evidence pa yung na-alter natin. Next, prepare to brief the investigators of situation upon the arrival so that they have the knowledge on what really happened on that crime scene. Next, crime scene investigation proper. So, una po, receipt of briefing and designation of command. So, the team leader, upon arrival at the crime scene, receives the briefing from the first responder and shall immediately designate a command post which is ideally located adjacent to the scene where the evidence custodian stays and receive the pieces of evidence turned over to him for safekeeping by the other evidence collectors. So, sa receipt of briefing and designation of command, so kanina, nabigyan na po sila ng knowledge, na-prepare na sila or na-brief na ng investigator kung ano ang nangyari sa situation. Next, initiation of preliminary survey. The team leader makes a general assessment of the scene, makes a cautious walkthrough of the crime scene, takes down extensive notes to document important factors, and establishes the evidence most likely to be encountered. So he then defines the extent of the search area and determines personnel and equipment needed and makes specific assignments. So from his assessment, he develops a general theory of the crime scene. So initiation of preliminary survey, iikutan po yan ng mga investigator. Now kapag may nakita silang mga evidences or unti-unting link that links the person or the person to the crime scene or what really happened to that crime, unti-unti nilang malalaman ano ba yung root or naging theory ng crime scene na yon. Next, preparation of narrative report. The team leader uses systematic approach in making a narrative report. No item is too insignificant to record if it catches one's attention. So sa initiation of preliminary survey, makikita natin ang lahat ng evidences. Now, sa preparation of narrative report, once na nagawa ka ng narrative report, lahat ng nakita mong evidences doon, kahit pa hindi yan magkakaroon ng significance sa investigation, kailangan isama. Next, documentation of the crime scene. The photographer begins taking photographs as soon as possible. So, the evidence collectors do not touch or move any evidence once it is located until it has been identified, measured, recorded, and photographed. Sketches supplement the photographs. The best tool in documenting the crime scene is with the use of video camera. Yes po, yun po yung pinaka-best tool para po ma-document natin ang crime scene. Not just only photographs but video camera. Kasi para alam natin kung ano talaga yung nangyayari at nakita natin sa crime scene. Next, crime scene sketches. So, a rough sketch is prepared indicating the actual measurement of things with scale and proportion, observed and oriented with the North Pole. All necessary information are placed in sketch. Sa crime scene sketches, ang kailangan lang po muna natin gawin is rough sketch. Ito po yung sketch ng mismong crime scene. Now, kapag gagamitin na po yan sa court presentation, magkakaroon na po tayo ng what we call finished sketch. Next, detailed search. The search for physical evidence is done using the accepted methods of search depending upon the actual location to be searched. So, during our prelim, we've already discussed the different method of searches such as zonal method, strip or parallel, grid method, spiral method, and wheel method. So, yung search natin depending upon the place where the crime scene happened. Next, collection of physical evidence. The team leader is always informed of significant evidence located. The evidence collector shall put his initial, location, and date of collection on the item and turn it over the evidence custodian for documentation and safekeeping. So, in cases where the evidence encountered needs special processing due to significant or sensational cases, the SOCO specialist of crime laboratory shall be requested. So, kanina, yung sinasabi nga natin sa preparation of narrative report, kailangan lahat ng evidence na nakita ay isulat. Ngayon naman, sa collection of physical evidence, nandyan na yung mga evidence with great significance. Yung mga evidence na pwedeng mag-link kung ano ba talaga yung nangyari sa crime scene. And kailangan po, sa bawat evidence ay may initial, location, and date of collection ng item bago siya i-turn over sa evidence custodian. Kasi po, kapag po hindi siya nalagyan ng initials, hindi rin po siya magiging acceptable. Next, conduct of final survey. The team leader makes a final review of the crime scene to determine whether or not the processing has been completed. And lastly, release of the crime scene. So, after na nung mga ginawa natin, after ng investigation proper, ang pinaka-last resort natin is release of the crime scene. The release of the crime scene shall be done if the investigator is satisfied that all pieces of evidence are recovered. Thus, the investigator must evaluate the items recovered from the results of interrogation of the suspects and the interview of the witnesses. So, he must bear in mind that upon the formal release of the crime scene to the proper authority, a warrant is already required for his re-entry to the crime scene. So, once na nagkaroon na kayo ng formal release sa crime scene, now, kapag babalikan mo si crime scene ngayon, ay kailangan mo na ng warrant para po makapasok ka ulit sa crime scene. Kasi, kaya proper, chine-check maigi kung talagang wala na kayong kailangang balikan sa crime scene. Kasi once na binalikan nyo si crime scene, kailangan nyo pa po ng warrant para maka-re-entry kayo. Bakit? Possible na ma-alter na yan. And pag na-alter na yan, kayo rin po ang magiging applicable or kayo rin po ang magiging kasama sa pwedeng maging one of the suspects sa crime scene investigation or sa pagkakaroon ng sa paghahanap natin ng link para mahanap kung ano ba or para mahanap kung sino yung suspect at para malaman natin kung ano ba talaga yung nangyari sa crime scene. Next, conduct of interview. So while the crime scene is being processed, the team leader shall designate other members to look for witnesses and immediately conduct interview. So the assigned investigator shall jot down important facts for future reference. So sa conduct of interview, hindi lang po yan basta nag-i-interview. Kailangan habang ini-interview, nagkakaroon kayo ng jot down notes para alam mo yung detailed na sinabi ng ini-interview mo. Next, arrest of suspects. Upon arrival at the crime scene, the team leader shall endeavor to arrest the suspects if he is still at the crime scene, or the first responder didn't arrest the suspects. So the suspect shall be secured and shall be separated from other witnesses. Hindi po kailangan isama si suspect from the other witnesses kasi possible na yung witnesses ay isa sa mga kasabwat niya or isa sa mga kamag-anak niya. Therefore, sino nga ba ang kakampihan yung witness? Si suspect. Kaya kailangan po, once na nandun si suspect, mag-i-interview kayo or maghahanap kayo ng witnesses kung sino po talaga ang nakakita sa crime scene. Whether kung ito ba'y kamag-anak nila or kakampi niya sa paggawa ng crime scene. Of course, kung kakampi naman niya yun sa paggawa ng crime scene, hindi naman siya para magstay sa crime scene area. Ang kailangan po nilang ma-interview is yung mga taong naandoon or nakakita ng nangyari. Next, custodial investigation. So, it refers to the stage where the investigation conducted by law enforcers is no longer a general inquiry into an unsolved crime, has begun to focus on a particular suspect who had been taken into custody by law enforcement officers who carry out a process of interrogation that lends itself to eliciting incriminating statements. So it shall also refer to the instances when into custody or otherwise deprived of his or her freedom of action in any significant manner. So custodial investigation includes questioning or probe involving a person invited by law enforcement officer in connection with an offense he or she is suspected to have committed. So of course, in custodial investigation, hindi mawawala ang Miranda natin o yung Miranda rights natin or yung Miranda doctrine. So under RA 7438, ano ba yung Republic Act 7438? Think of it kung ano ba yung RA 7438 para habang kakaroon tayo ng video presentation or video discussion na nag-iisip din kayo kung ano ba yung takbo ng ating lesson. So, RA 7438, rights of the person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation. So, what are the rights of the person under custodial investigation? So, familiar po kayo sa mga rights natin under investigation natin, under custodial investigation natin, ha? Ito po yung mga Miranda rights. Unang-una na po dyan, that he has the right to remain silent. That if he waives his right to remain silent, anything he says can be used in evidence for or against him in court. So, sa waiver, in the event that the suspect waives his right under Article 124 and 125 of the Revised Penal Code, such waiver must be made in writing and duly signed by him and by the counsel of his own choice or by a competent and independent counsel provided for him if he cannot afford one. So, sa waiver natin, hindi lang po yun basta sinabi mo na you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to remain silent, and yes. Hindi lang po yan verbal na sinabi. Kailangan po, documented po yan. At kailangan signed by you and by a competent counsel para pumoproteksyonan din po ang rights ng isang accused. Next, that he has the right to counsel of his own choice, and that if he cannot afford one, he shall be provided with an independent and competent counsel. And that he has the right to be informed of such rights. Kasi pag hindi ka na-inform ng rights na yan, pwede ka pong mawalang sala dyan. Bakit hindi ka na-inform ng rights? Ano yung ginagawa mo dyan? Hindi ka sinabihan kung ano yung mga rights mo. And yun yung karamihan kasi, yun yung hindi nila nagagawa kasi alam nila na kapag nahuli ka nila, gustong-gusto ka na talagang ikulong. Pero kapag sinabihan ka ng mga rights mo, nagkakaroon niya ng hearing, habang tumatagal yung hearing, pwede kang magsalita or pwede kang umamin, pwede kang hindi umamin para maproteksyonan mo din ang sarili mo. Next, detention. Detention prisoner shall be locked up as may be necessary to secure his safety and prevent escape. So when transporting detention prisoner, for example, may hearing sila, need siya ng escort. Then, take note po ha, kasi lumabas sa board exam last year. Ano daw ba yung kailangang way kapag magta-transport ng detention prisoner? Halimbawa, attend sila ng hearing. Ngayon, kapag nakasakay na sila sa mobile, pagbaba, ang unang bababa po ay ang prisoner, followed by the escort. Then, pagtataas naman sila or babalik na sila sa sakyan after na nung hearing, ang unang tataas po ay si prisoner, followed by the escort. So, take note of that po. Next, civil disturbance management operation. So, general guidelines, the police unit tasked to maintain peace and order shall not interfere with the holding of public assembly after verification that the permit for such purpose has been issued by the local government unit concerned. So, it showcases the skills of the PNP in conducting operations. So, in civil disturbance management, to ensure public safety, a civil disturbance management contingent under the command of the police commission officer with the rank of police senior inspector of hire shall be detailed and stationed at least 100 meters away from the place where the public assembly is being held. So, in the absence of any permit from the LGU concerned, the PCO in command should exert effort to persuade the demonstrators to peacefully disperse and vacate the public place. So, in case of lightning rallies or demonstrations, orderly dispersal should only be resorted, including the apprehension of those responsible. Therefore, in case of resistance after the exhaustive dialogue for voluntary dispersal has failed. So, sa civil disturbance management operation, isa sa mahirap na ginagawa ng police ay yung magsugpo ng mga rallies o rallyist. Bakit po? So, sa pagsusugpo ng rallyist, it showcases the skills ng PNP natin kung paano ba nila na i-conduct ng maayos ang isang operation. And yun yung too risky sa kanila kasi maaring silang masaktan ng mga rallyist. Napapansin nyo naman in real life situation, especially sa mga balita or sa mga nakapunta na dyan ng Manila na nakakita na mismo o naka-witness na ng ganong pangyayari ng mga nagrarally, ay nasasaktan naman talaga ang mga police officers natin. Next, specific guidelines. It shall be imperative for the members of the CDM or Civil Disturbance Management Contingent when their assistance is requested by the leaders or organizers to perform their duties, always mindful that their responsibility provide proper protection to those exercising the right visibly to assembly. So, as well as the members of the CDM or the Civil Disturbance Management natin shall not carry any kind of firearms but may be equipped with baton or riot sticks, crash helmets with visors, gas masks, boots or ankle-high shoes with shin guards for their protection. In addition, sa mga Civil Disturbance Management officers natin, flare gas, smoke, grenades, water cannons, or any similar anti-riot device shall not be used unless the public assemblies attended by actual violence or serious threats of violence or deliberate destruction of property. So lahat po ng mga gamit na yon, once na nagkaroon ng threat sa kanilang buhay or nagkaroon ng threat of violence, especially na-destruct na po ang most of the properties nila, kailangan na po nilang gumawa ng actions. Civil disturbances operational task. First is the isolate the area. So after isolating the area, you have to secure likely the targets. Hindi lang po kayo nakatayo lang sa gilid. Kailangan po, once na nagkaroon na ng operational task, alam nyo na kung saan yung lugar nyo, kung ano yung kailangan yung i-secure na lugar, ano ba yung dapat protektahan na lugar. Next, control crowds. Kasi hindi po mapipigilan na magpapanik ang mga tao. Kailangan kayo mismo ay hindi magpapanik para alam ng mga tao na kailangan nilang maglaylo. Kasi mostly kapag ganyan ang nangyayari, nagpapanik ang mga tao, and kapag ang police officer mismo ay nagpanik pero hindi naman yan nangyayari in real life situation, ewan ko lang din kung sa mga operational task nila ay may nagpapanik na police officer. So since they are trained individuals, hindi naman nila gagawin yun, and sila yung magiging frontliner natin para protektahan ang mga tao. And establish area control and neutralize special threats. So kung may mga special threats pa dyan, kailangan alam natin o lalagyan na natin yan ng command post or mga tao na pwede doon sa lugar na yon para ma-secure ang isang place, para maiwasan natin ang mga threats na pwedeng mangyari sa isang lugar. So, that's all for civil disturbance management operations natin, and that covers the topic of our midterm examination, and may mga succeeding topics pa po tayo. So, for now, that's all, and thank you and God bless.